Dear students, in the previous class, we have studied application of partition function to the heat capacity of ideal gases. Today, the next topic we are going to discuss is about nuclear partition function. Nuclear partition function is represented as Fn. Okay. See, in the nuclear partition function, we are considering about the distribution of nucleons, that is, neutrons and protons. The nuclear partition function and how it contributes towards the heat capacity we are going to study. The expression to study the nuclear partition function is equal to summation of Gn e power minus En by kT of ith level. This actually partition function, nuclear partition function, is the summation of degeneracy of the nucleons and the energy due to nucleons divided by kT, that is, it is the exponential power of energy of nucleons divided by nucleus divided by kT. Now when we expand this, on expansion, we get will be equal to Gn e power minus E0 by kT plus Gn1 e power minus E1 by kT. I can going on write it down like this. What is this actually? This is the degeneracy of the zeroth level. Degeneracy of the nucleon at the zeroth level. This is the energy of nucleons in the ground state, and this is the degeneracy of the nucleon in the first excited state, and this is the energy of the nucleon in the first energy level, that is E1. I can going on write it down like this as plus Gn2 e power minus E2 by kT minus E3 by kT, depending upon the energy levels of the nucleons. We can going on expand this equation like this. But most of the atoms, most of the nucleons are in the ground state. Okay, they are found in the ground state. The excited state are very far apart. Therefore, they do not contribute towards the energy of nucleons, as well as they do not contribute towards the heat capacity. See, I can write the nuclear partition function. We are considering only the ground state because most of the nucleons are occupied in the ground state. In the excited state, very few are present. So therefore, we are neglecting the other degeneracy levels of the nucleons, taking into consideration of the ground state. Degeneracy of the ground state of the nucleon e power minus E0 divided by kT, which is nothing but the partition function of nucleons in the zeroth state or in the ground state. We are ignoring the excited state the first excited state, second excited state, and third excited state, because these excited state of the nucleons are very far apart, and the nucleons population is also very less. So therefore, we are ignoring the first, second, third excited state. We are taking into consideration the ground state of the nucleons. So this is called ground state degeneracy of the nucleons, and the energy of the nucleons in the ground state, which determines the partition function of the nucleus. Okay. So therefore, how to calculate the ground state degeneracy? How to calculate the degeneracy of the ground state? Every atom, okay, every atom nuclei contains neutrons and protons. Every atom contains nuclei, and that nuclei contains neutrons and protons. Therefore, the degeneracy of the ground state is determined by the spin quantum numbers of the nucleons. That is, the degeneracy is determined by the spin quantum number of nucleus. The degeneracy particularly of G naught. Okay. For example, if I consider number of neutrons and number of protons we have, and neutrons plus protons, and we have nuclear quantum number, okay, and it will give the NMR signals for different types of nucleons. Now let us consider, if the number of neutrons is even and number of proton is also even, automatically the neutron plus proton is also be even. Then in that case, the spin quantum number will be 0. The spin quantum number of the nucleons will be 0, and the example in the case of, for example, carbon 16, oxygen 16, okay, like this. And it will not give NMR signal. There will be no NMR signal will be there. See, it contains 8 number of protons and 8 number of neutrons. It contains 8 number of protons and 8 number of neutrons, and its spin quantum number value will be equal to 0. For example, in other case, if the number of neutrons is odd and number of proton is odd, then neutron plus proton will be even. For example, this is in the case of and the I number value will be integral. I will be integral. Example, in the case of deuterium, in the case of nitrogen. Here there are 7 number of neutrons and 7 number of neutrons. Here 1 proton and 1 neutron is the deuterium. And the spin quantum number will be integral, and it will give a NMR signal. Yes. Or for example, if odd numbers of neutrons and even number of protons, or even number of neutrons or odd number of protons, then this is odd. In this case, what happens? The I value will be half integral. Half integral. And in this case, for example, hydrogen, chlorine 35, like this. Okay, and this type of nucleus will also give NMR signal, either neutrons is odd or even. Similarly, protons may be even or odd, but the neutron plus proton will give you the odd value, and its spin quantum number will be half integral values. Automatically, such type of nucleons will give the NMR signal. Now, that is how to find out the degeneracy of the ground state of the nucleons. See, the degeneracy of the nucleus in the ground state nucleons can be written as sigma of 2i plus 1. Okay, this is called ground state degeneracy. And I is called spin quantum number of nucleons, that is nucleus. From this I can find out the nuclear partition function will be equal to Gn0 will be equal to sigma of spin quantum number in the ground state is represented by I naught. Okay. That is, for example, in the case of bulk thermodynamic properties, the energy of nucleons will be equal to kT square dou ln Fm divided by dou T at constant V. We have studied the energy in terms of partition function. Then I can write this equation as the energy due to nucleons can be written as n kT square dou ln dou T at constant volume. Okay, and I am substituting the value of nuclear partition function so that I can find out the energy of nucleons will be equal to n kT square, that dou ln, this is nothing but the degeneracy of the nucleus in the ground state divided by dou T at constant volume. Automatically this will be equal to 0. That means the energy of the nucleons which is present in the ground state, its energy will be equal to 0. Automatically we know that what is its contribution towards squeeze capacity of the gases, it will be equal to dou En divided by dou T will be equal to 0. So therefore, similar to the electronic partition function, the nuclear partition function contribution towards heat capacity will be almost 0, because the degeneracy of the nucleus in the ground state with respect to temperature and constant volume will be equal to 0. This is about the nuclear partition function and its contribution towards the heat capacity of solids. The next topic we are going to study is heat capacity of solids, or Einstein's heat capacity of solids. We know that it is assumed that each atom in a crystal vibrates in 3 directions, that is in x-axis, in the y-axis. For example, if I take a crystal like this, if I take a crystal, each atom vibrates in three coordinate axes, in the x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, and they are oscillating in independent fashion, and their vibrations are like a simple harmonic motions. Okay, and according to equipartition of energy, the energy expressed as the sum of the two quadratic terms, it will be equal to 2 into half RT, that is the energy of vibration in the sum of two quadratic terms. Therefore 2 into half RT will be equal to RT. So therefore the energy of ideal solid element, the energy of ideal solid element is 3 RT. That is 1 RT in each direction. In all the three directions, they are vibrating in an independent fashion, in an harmonic motion. So therefore, the energy of ideal solid will be equal to 3 RT per gram atom or per mole. Okay, so that the heat capacity at constant volume. Okay, what is the heat capacity? This is the energy. We know that the heat capacity is dou E by dou T at constant volume will be equal to, the energy will be 3 RT by dt will be equal to 3 R. This value, the heat capacity of a solid, okay, the heat capacity of a solid will be almost equal to 3 into R, which will be equal to 3 into R is 8.314 joules per degree per mole. Then this value will be equal to around 25. It will be equal to 25 joules per Kelvin per mole or per degree per mole. See, this is the basic principle of Dulong-Petit's law. This is the basic principle of Dulong-Petit's law, and this Dulong-Petit's law is not applicable for all the metals. Okay, there are some metals which obeys Dulong-Petit's law, whose heat capacity of solids is almost equal to 25 joules per Kelvin per mole. The metals like aluminium, antimony, cadmium, gold, iodine, iron, nickel, lead, platinum, thallium, tin, zinc, etc. obeys law, that is Dulong-Petit's law. That is Cv is almost equal to 25 joules per Kelvin per mole. But there are some number of lighter elements. Lighter elements like boron, beryllium and carbon, that is diamond usually, and silicon, okay, and silicon have very low values. They have very low values of Cv, that is, it is not equal to, that is equal to 25 joules per degree per mole. So this value is very less. So therefore these lighter elements do not obey this Dulong-Petit's law. Okay, that Cv value is somewhat low, and therefore the Cv value does not change appreciably with increase in temperature at very low temperatures. Okay, at very low temperature the Cv value reduces to 0. At low temperatures Cv reduces to 0 in all these lighter elements. See, this is the Cv reduces to 0 that we have already studied in thermodynamics third law. Okay, and such a variation cannot be explained by classical theory, that can be explained by Einstein's heat capacity of solids. Now we will study what is Einstein's heat capacity. What he suggested that why the CV value at very low temperature is zero, that is able to explained by Einstein. Einstein proposed a theory according to which a solid containing n independent atoms, the total number of atoms in a crystal vibrating in the independent form, in the form of simple harmonic motion, they assume that the energy is not a continuous, it is only in the integral multiples of h nu. The energy of vibration is in terms of integral multiples of h nu. Okay, integral multiples of h nu, and where this nu is fundamental frequency of vibration and h is the Planck's constant. So therefore every atom acts as a harmonic oscillator. It vibrates in independent fashion and its energy is, the energy of vibration is integral multiples of h nu, as 0 h nu, 1 h nu, 2 h nu, and the corresponding energies will be 0 energy, 2 energy, 3 energy, like this. Every E will be equal to h nu, or you can say it will be equal to 0, or it will be equal to h nu, 2 h nu, 3 h nu, like this. The integral multiples, the energy of vibrations are integral multiples of h nu. This is given by Einstein's heat capacity of solids. The energy of such a system of oscillators can be found in the case of diatomic molecules. See, in the case of diatomic molecules, that is, can vibrate, the molecules can vibrate along the internuclear axis. That is, along the axis they vibrate. The vibration of the oscillators in the crystal can be resolved along the Cartesian coordinates. Okay, the vibration of each and every atom is resolved in Cartesian coordinates. So therefore, for a vibrating diatomic molecule which is vibrating along the internuclear axis, okay, the energy of vibration, we have already studied in the vibrational Cartesian function, it will be equal to RT into U divided by e power U minus 1. What is nu? U we have already studied. U is nothing but h nu bar c divided by kT, or h nu by kT. We know already that the frequency is nothing but wave number into velocity of light. Okay, h nu by kT. On substituting this value of h nu by kT in this equation, I will get, it will be equal to, on substituting, we get, when I substitute the value of u in this equation, now I am substituting, the energy of vibration will be equal to RT into h nu by kT divided by e power h nu by kT minus 1. Okay, it will be equal to this T and this T get cancelled. Okay, this T and this T get cancelled. I can write it as R h nu divided by K. Okay, K 1 divided by e power h nu by kT minus 1. This is the energy of vibration of every atom which vibrates like a harmonic oscillator. Okay, h nu by kT power minus 1. Now we are going to find out the average kinetic, the average energy of vibration, because many number of n number of atoms are vibrating in a crystal. So we have to take average energy of vibration. The average energy of vibration is nothing but, listen, the average energy is represented as modulus E. That is nothing but the average energy of an oscillator is E by n. What is the energy of vibration divided by total number of atoms in a crystal? Okay, E by n. So therefore, average energy, I can write it as, it will be equal to h nu divided by e power h nu by kT power minus 1. How it comes? Because, listen, since R is equal to 3m. Okay? Sorry, this R is equal to K into n. Okay? R is equal to K into n. So what happens? Here, this n we can cancel. Say, or I can write simply for your easy understanding. I am writing it as, that is average energy E will be equal to E by n, which is equal to K n h nu divided by K 1 divided by e power h nu by kT power minus 1. Then what happens? This k get cancelled and n get cancelled. So therefore, average energy will be equal to h nu divided by e power h nu by kT power minus 1. Can you understand? Now, this is the average energy of each and every harmonic oscillator divided, that is h nu divided by e power h nu by kT power minus 1. Then, what is the total vibrational energy? The total vibrational energy for, we have n atoms, because we have total number of n atoms in a crystal, then automatically 3n will be equal to average kinetic energy, average energy of vibration. Okay, 3n into E, we are there. Therefore, the energy of vibration total, we are multiplying this average energy of vibration with 3n, where n is nothing but the total number of atoms in a crystal vibrating. So therefore, I can write it as, it will be equal to, I am writing here so that you can easily understand, the energy of vibration, total energy of vibration will be equal to 3n, okay, into h nu divided by e power h nu by kT power minus 1. Now, we have to find out what is its contribution, the energy of vibration, total energy of vibration I have calculated, and we are going to calculate what is the value of CV? What is CV? We know rate of change of energy with respect to temperature at constant volume. So therefore here I am making it as the total energy of vibration. I am taking total energy of vibration and differentiating with respect to temperature at constant volume. I will get the value of CV. How? That will be equal to 3 into, when I differentiate this, I will get 3 into N h nu minus 1 e power h nu by kT minus 1 power minus 2. Okay, then e power h nu by kT into minus h nu divided by kT square. Okay, when I simplify this, I am writing the next step. CV is equal to CV is equal to 3 Nk h nu by k h nu divided by kT square into e power h nu divided by kT divided by e power h nu by kT minus 1 whole square. Okay, then when I simplify this equation, CV is equal to 3 Nk into h nu by kT square into e power h nu by kT into e power h nu by kT minus 1 whole square. Okay, see, this is the final expression. That is, this is the expression I got at the heat capacity of solids after differentiating the total energy of vibration with respect to temperature at constant volume. For example, at high temperature, see, at high temperature, what happens? This h nu is very much lesser than kT. Then automatically what happens? The h nu by kT terms are small compared to 1. Then I am writing the expansion of e power exponential of h nu by kT will be equal to 1 plus h nu by kT plus 1 by 2 factorial h nu by kT whole square and 1 by 3 factorial h nu by kT whole cube. I can going on write it down like this. This is the exponential of h nu by kT. So what happens when h nu by kT is very small? When h nu by kT is small, then e power h nu by kT is approximately equal to 1, or it will be equal to 1 plus h nu by kT. E power h nu by kT is approximately equal to 1 plus h nu by kT because h nu by kT is very small. So therefore I can write the heat capacity of solids will be equal to 3 Nk h nu by kT square into 1 plus h nu by kT divided by 1 plus h nu by kt power minus 1 whole square. When I simplify this, I will get Cv is equal to 3 nk. Okay? Or it will be equal to k into n, that is total number of particles into Boltzmann constant will be equal to 3r. Okay? Will be equal to 3r since 1 plus h nu by kt is approximately equal to 1. And see, you know that, and r is equal to nk. Okay? Therefore, Cv is equal to 3r. And this is at high temperature. And what happens at low temperatures? At low temperatures, okay, at low temperatures, what happens? H nu is very much greater than kT. Okay? H nu is very much greater than kT. In such a case, what happens? So, e power h nu by kt will be very much greater than 1. Therefore, this equation I can write it as Cv is equal to 3 nk h nu by kt square into e power minus h nu by kt. So therefore, when temperature becomes reduces to 0, Cv also becomes equal to 0. What happens? At very low temperature, the energy of vibration of the atoms in a crystal which are vibrating like harmonic oscillator will have the lowest vibrational energy. They will occupy the lowest vibrational level and their contribution towards peace capacity will be 0 at low temperature. So finally the Cv will be equal to 25 joules per degree per mole. So therefore at very high level, that is very high temperature, a considerable number of atoms will be in the higher vibrational state, then automatically the Cv value will be equal to 3R. So that is, it is found that at low temperatures, the heat capacity according to this treatment will fall off more rapidly and becomes equal to 0. Okay, so that at higher temperature, the Cv will be equal to 3R. It is approximately equal to 25 joules per degree per mole. Whereas at very low temperature, because of the lowest vibrational energy of the oscillators vibrating in a crystal, so therefore what happens at very low temperature, the heat capacity of the solid will become equal to almost 0. Okay, next, this is the explanation given by this Einstein's heat capacity of solids. So today we have studied the nuclear partition function and its contribution towards heat capacity, and next we have studied what is the heat capacity of the solids. We have studied Dulong-Petit's law, and following this we have also studied the Einstein's heat capacity of solids at different temperatures, what happens at higher temperature, and what will be the heat capacity of solids at low temperature. In the next class, we will study the next theory of heat capacity, that is Debye's heat capacity of solids.